Wallace has the courage to speak out on the real issues, and America is listening.
I can recall some time ago, ladies and gentlemen, that the Supreme Court ruled that a member of the Communist Party could work in a defense plant in my state, in your state, and the other states of the Union. And while communists are killing American servicemen in Southeast Asia, I'm not in accord with that. And I want to make you this solemn promise that when I am your president, I'm going to, within the law, take every communist out of every defense plant in Texas or any other defense plant in the United States.
Governor George Wallace, at last a leader who has the courage to stand up for America. Join the fight. Vote Wallace. Paid political announcement by the Wallace campaign. Wallace has the courage to speak out on the real issues, and America is listening.
But they don't have to pay any of the taxes that they wind up getting on you and me, because their multi-billion-dollar foundations are tax exempt. And if we remove the tax exemption status of these multi-billion-dollar tax exempt foundations, we could raise the exemption for the working people in Texas from $600 per dependent to $800 to $1,000, which would be, of course, an increase in wages. So I'm going to ask the Congress to remove the tax exemption status on the Rockefeller and the Ford and the Carnegie and the Mellon foundations, and let them pay taxes like the average working man.
Governor George Wallace, at last a leader who has the courage to stand up for America. Join the fight. Vote Wallace. Paid political announcement by the Wallace campaign. Wallace has the courage to speak out on the real issues, and America is listening.
And I listened not long ago to the Bleeding Hearts and the Sob Sisters talk about the police in Chicago. Well, thank goodness for the police in Little Rock and in Chicago and every other state in the Union. We're going to have to return law and order in this country. And one of the first things I'm going to do as your president is that I'm going to give the moral support of the presidency to the law enforcement officials of this country and to the firemen, and ask the Congress to change some of the decisions that have been rendered by the Supreme Court that have handcuffed the police. We cannot solve any problem that faces our people unless first we have order.
Governor George Wallace, at last a leader who has the courage to stand up for America. Join the fight. Vote Wallace. Paid political announcement by the Wallace campaign. Governor George C. Wallace.
Today we are involved in Southeast Asia with 500,000 American servicemen who are totally committed at this very moment between life and death. I sincerely hope and pray that the political and diplomatic negotiations in Paris are successful and that an honorable peace can be achieved through negotiations and the American servicemen brought home. At this time, there's some doubt about the success of our political and diplomatic negotiations in Paris. And if they fail, and as your president, I shall call upon the Joint Chiefs of Staff to bring a military conclusion to the war with conventional weapons and bring the American servicemen home and turn the security of South Vietnam over strictly to the South Vietnamese armed forces.
Wallace has the courage to stand up for America. Give him your support. Paid political announcement by the Wallace campaign.
I own this shoe store. You bet I'm for Wallace.
Sure, Wallace speaks out for what's right.
I'm for Wallace.
If you're wondering why more and more millions of your fellow Americans are turning to Governor Wallace, open a little business of your own someplace and see what might happen. Governor Wallace says,
as president, I will stand up for your local police and firemen in protecting your safety and property.
Paid political announcement by the Wallace campaign.
Hey, you bet I'm
from Wallace. George Wallace tells it like it is.
This country needs Wallace.
If you're wondering why more and more millions of your fellow Americans are turning to Governor Wallace, just think how many of your hard-earned tax dollars are leaving this country every day and going to anti-American countries. Governor Wallace says,
As president, I will halt the giveaway of your American dollars and products to those nations that aid our enemies.
Paid political announcement by the Wallace campaign. If you're wondering why more and more millions of your fellow Americans are turning to Governor Wallace, go outside tonight and take a walk in your street or park. Governor Wallace says,
As president, I shall help make it possible for you and your families to walk the streets of our cities in safety.
Paid political announcement by the Wallace campaign. If you're wondering why more and more millions of Americans are turning to Governor Wallace, just follow one morning as your children are forced to ride school buses all across town. Governor Wallace says,
As president, I shall, within the law, turn back the absolute control of the public school systems to the people of the respective states.
Paid political announcement by the Wallace campaign.